So this morning, I gave myself the displeasure of tuning in to the Turning Point USA's All-American Super Bowl halftime show. And I gotta say, man, it was... I don't really know how to describe it. I want to say it was worse than I expected. That's because I was expecting like a so bad it's good kind of situation out of it. But it wasn't even that.
Like the Hunter Biden movie.
Exactly. Like it wasn't even so bad that it could entertain me a little bit and I could be like, oh, haha, that's so cringe. It was just whatever.
Just strictly worse than the actual halftime show.
Like it was just lame.
Yeah.
It was 35 minutes of like actual performance, which I'm pretty sure is longer than the actual Super Bowl halftime, even considering like setup and tear down of the set. Bad Bunny set was only like, I think 13 minutes.
Okay.
35 minutes of just like country music and Kid Rock, which it's like, it's like, okay, but it's like pop country. It's the bullshit. And then at one point, like the first guy up, he's singing a Dirt Road Anthem by Jason Aldean. That's how you know I watched it this morning because it's still in my head. And I didn't know that song had like a rap breakdown in the middle of it. But this motherfucker's out here singing this country song and just starts rapping. I was shocked. I was shook to my core.
You gotta like appreciate how consistent they are because they have Kid Rock do all of these kinds of things.
Oh, that's
like
true.
Anytime they do like an alternate like celebration that involves like music or whatever, or like a halftime show style thing, it's always Kid Rock is the headliner. Who fucking cares?
Exactly. Like how like it's. I was gonna say how are you getting Kid Rock for all these things? How are you getting people to listen to Kid Rock at all these things?
Yeah.
Because Kid Rock's got nothing else going on.
No.
I don't think that guy's booked up for like a billion shows all the time. And it's funny because before the halftime show as well, after Kid Rock had been announced, they're trying to promote it. Benny Johnson put this picture out on Twitter, right? He was with he was standing weird next to Kid Rock and next to RFK Jr. And he said just like three guys who aren't in the Epstein files or some shit. Whatever. I'm not even going to contend with that.
RFK Jr. is in the Epstein files, by the way. Exactly.
What I think is funny about that picture is arguably Kid Rock. He's not in the Epstein files, sure, but he's done things that are just arguably worse.
He sang about it.
Like he sang in his song for Osmosis Jones, the children's movie, young ladies, I like a mother underage C. Some say it's statutory. I call it mandatory.
That's insane.
That's a line that Kid Rock wrote and put in a song is saying to people. And this is your guy. This is the guy that's headlining the All-American Halftime Show. These are the family values you want to promote?
Yeah, it is just beyond parody. And I know it feels quaint to say that nowadays because literally every subject we talk about on this show is just like the most insane thing of the week. But this is just, it's beyond parody and it's kind of pathetic. Like, this is your guy.
No, it is pathetic. And it's not only pathetic just because it's like Kid Rock. It's pathetic just because it like happened, right? Like, I feel like conservatives expect to be like they want to be pandered to. All of their politics just boils down to them being pandered to. I don't even know. Like, I think a lot of conservatives go out there and they do the like white nativist thing. They do the racist bullshit. Maybe not even because they're actually like racist, just because they want everything to be for them.
Yeah,
the alternative halftime show is the whiniest thing on the planet. And like, if you're tuning into that, that's insane. Like, I don't know.
That's what annoys me about like culture war stuff like this is like, conservatives freak out anytime something isn't explicitly about or for them.
Yeah.
Especially when it challenges like any preconceived notions they have. And when that happens, it's not just like, oh, I don't like this thing. This is a threat to the West as a whole.
Exactly.
This is a sign of moral degradation. Like, brother, you can just not like a certain kind of music and move on. It doesn't have to be this grand narrative or grand conspiracy against you specifically.
They're
it's the most snowflakey thing ever.
They act like their way of life is being destroyed because some dude sang a song in a different language. And it had to or had to not watch it. Like, I don't know, dude, but just to go and to put on this whole production, it's so fucking lame. And the production itself was lame. The halftime show was lame. It was just entirely whack. You had Kid Rock at the headliner, and you know the people who earnestly tuned into it were the most annoying people on the planet because they can't stand the idea that we live in just like a diverse world and some things aren't for them.
Yeah, no, it's like the minute that something doesn't cater explicitly to them, they freak the fuck out. Whereas like if I see somebody put some I don't know, there are movies with conservative themes like Incredibles, for example, right? People often say that it's like a conservative or like libertarian coded movie. I can just like disagree with the themes of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't have to get out here and say like, oh, this is a sign that the West has fallen. It's just I don't like the movie.
And then I don't go and sit there and like whine about it like crazy. Even the Bad Bunny halftime show, like I'm not a guy that listens to Bad Bunny. It's just not on my radar. So I watch it, I enjoy the performance, and I'm like, okay. Like, okay, cool.
And
whatever.
to be fair, like I think that's how most people interact with it.
Exactly.
But there's just a specific like sect of the population, I don't know, 5% of people, 10% of people that freak the fuck out anytime the media they consume doesn't conform to exactly what they believe in their head already. And that's the thing is like, all of this critique, all the critique they have of like corporations or even like the NFL or these big entities when they do quote unquote woke things, is that it's not the kind of thing they like to consume. All of this is based around consumption. There's no actual critique of the deeper systems within the economy. It's all just, I don't want to see this specific thing because the person doesn't talk the way I like, doesn't look the way I like, doesn't believe the things I believe. There's no deeper critique here. It's all just like, I want to consume things that are catering to me specifically.
Exactly. I want to
just so surface level
like,
pathetic.
Tell me I'm super special and that I do everything right and that I'm perfect and I want everyone to look like me and be like me and act like me all the time. And it's the most lame, whiny bullshit ever.
Yeah. Especially when you've got like artists like Bad Bunny that are like good.
And also like the number one artist in the world. Yeah. Like the most popular guy really ever.
It's fucking stupid, dude. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. You are tuned into the Hito broadcast, and today we got to talk about election news. We've got to talk about DHS funding a little bit. We got some Iran stuff a little bit later on.
And we've got a special little interview.
We've also got an interview with Mike Nellis, host of Endless Urgency over on Substack that will be happening about partway through this episode. And we'll also be talking about election stuff with him and what the Democrats should do in the future. So stay tuned for all of that. But before we get into it, I got to ask you to become a patron.
Please, guys. Please, guys. Help support the show. Help support independent media.
Independent media, you get early access to all of our content and commercial-free episodes.
And don't we all want that?
Everybody wants commercial-free episodes. Everybody wants to consume without interruption.
I know that our commercials are so good, they could rival whatever was up on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But guys, come on. You want to get to the points quicker.
You want to get to the points quicker, and you want to get early access to all of our stuff. You can do that over on Patreon. It's the only place you can do it. You can also subscribe to us on Substack or the second YouTube channel. All the other links are down there in the description. I'll also say here at the top, we will be having a bonus episode coming to Patreon this week.
And that's pretty exciting.
On Friday, and it will release for the regular listeners on Monday. It's a fun little interview we did, and we'll save the rest of the details to be a surprise a little bit later on.
Exactly. I will say it's a really good one.
It's good.
Please check it out. Good. Like the Christy McGillivray interview was good for the people who actually watched that one, which should have been everybody. But
good hashtag hopium.
Good hashtag hopium, precisely.
Good hashtag hopium. So stay tuned for that. That is coming later on Friday. One other way you can support the show, as always, is by leaving a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. We don't have any Apple reviews today.
Yeah, today you guys let us down.
So I can't believe it.
We're giving a bump to the Spotify folks.
I just can't believe it.
We might have to start changing the order with which we do these reviews if Apple keeps letting us down.
Apple, you got to lock in, guys. But this first one's actually from Instagram. Meant to read this last time, but I did forget. But it's on the show this time. This one's from Brian from Instagram. My fellow Hito heads, we are cursed to live in times when our demands mean so little to those with too much power. You may feel, as I do, the hopelessness that permeates your efforts to be involved in the political process. My voice, our voices might never reach the volume needed for change, but we have a few tricks of our own. Our rage and demands for change can be amplified through Jeremy and Gage.
Huge.
Our support of Head in the Office can and will have actual effects because unlike our elected representatives, our boys actually do give a shit what we say and what's right. I have found hope where before there was only indifference. I have found a voice where before there were only tears. You may already be a Patreon subscriber, but we can do more. As soon as this review is posted, I'm upping my membership tier so our boys can focus on representing the U.S. And what I call and I call on all those who can do the same. We are Hito.
We are Hito. We carry the flame. Incredible.
And anytime we say focus on your community, do some on the ground work, we mean giving on Patreon.
Well,
that's what we mean.
What community could be more important than the Head in the Office community, specifically on Discord as well? We have all aspects of community here. We got the neighborhood, the HOA, the Discord, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to do, we have it.
Yeah, we have it all.
It's your one-stop shop. This first review on Spotify from Mads, rated 5 out of 5 as a certified J. Jones voter.
Hell yeah.
I condemn all political violence. Thank you for all the hard work you quirked up white boys put into keeping us informed in these unsettling times and making the news actually palatable. I've been listening to you guys since 2023, and I'm finally taking the jump and downloading Patreon. Again, thank you for everything you've done. Shouts out.
Next one from Cosmonaut Connor. Comrades, it's time we all contribute to the Jeremy and Gage Buy a House tier on Patreon. Comrades, I promise Chairman Jeremy and leader of the party Gage are MS-13 compliant and an excellent tertiary source of news. Now is the time, comrades. 107 out of 5 stars. P.S. Please do more interviews, like get Hassan on here or something.
Oh, brother, Unpopular, we wish.
Man, we wish.
Wouldn't that be great?
Hit up his comment sections or DMs or something and
go,
say, hey.
Go flood his lives. Go flood his lives. Let him know. Not even that Hito sent you. Just tell him, you guys should go. You should go on Hito. You should go on Head in the Office.
Hey, these guys are quirked up.
They're cool. Friend of the show, Hassan
Be the
Piker.
change you want to see in the world.
Exactly.
So.
Another one from Cat Aver. 5, JD Vance is getting booed at the Olympics out of 5.
So
Between
true.
you guys keeping me informed in a way that lets me know I can always talk more shit on hashtag my Democrats. Also, let's go New Jersey. So far, it looks like this Bernie AOC backed Anelia Mija may take the Democrat primary.
Oh yeah, we got some news on that in this episode here today. The next one from J2, 5 out of 5 stars. Just want to say a quick fuck you to reps. And then lists all the ones that voted for the DHS bill.
Oh, there's Gary Peters in there. Did he vote for it as well?
Also, shame on you to
poor
Hakeem
guy.
and Chuck, because y'all are bigger enablers of the Democratic Party than the Republicans.
Big.
So true.
Big. This next one from N3 is 22 neocon Democrats destroying the party out of 5. These corked up Michigooners keep me cozy in the crazy winter storm that hit Kentucky, keeps me out of school for at least 2 weeks. As always, I condemn most political violence, all political violence, including denial of healthcare. Shout out Nightlife Listen Here. Yes.
Whatever the hell that means.
I think it's another podcast, and there's a link in there, but I can't recite that.
Also, I will just say, this isn't a review, but Mo said, dang, I like this podcast.
I think we all could be a little like Mo.
I think we could all be a little like Mo. I'm gonna have to fundamentally agree with that sentiment there. Getting into the news here, it's Election Watch. And I'll even say Special Election Watch. I'll even say Hope Corps.
Oh.
Because there's some good news in here. I can't lie. There's some actual good news. We're going to go over 2 major Democratic electoral wins, one which we already talked about, but the other was a pretty big upset. So first, this past Saturday, Democrat Chastity Verrett Martinez won her Louisiana State House seat in a special election, 62% to 38%.
In Louisiana?
Beating the Republican by 24%. Now you might say, okay, that's just like a state House seat in Louisiana. Yeah. Who gives a shit, right? And this isn't a flip for Democrats. Okay. So Democrats already held this seat, but it's a huge swing from 2024, which is why people are talking about it. Trump won this state House district by 13 points in 2024. That's a 37% swing from 2024 to this election that just happened on Saturday. So I don't know. You might not be able to say it's a bellwether, but it feels like kind of a big deal.
But like in every other special election, pretty much everywhere in the country has gone like this. Like there have been a numerous. There's Tyler Reddick, the guy in Texas that flipped the seat like 30-something points. There have been other massive flips across the country. Even back in the special elections last year in 2025, there was like Tennessee state house seats that has flipped crazy. There were Virginia state house seats that flipped crazy. Everywhere these special elections are popping off like hugely.
Yeah. Just like you mentioned, this comes after we spoke about last week Taylor Ramette winning an upset in a major election in Texas last week to flip a historically red state Senate district blue. Ramette flipped a Trump plus 17 district by winning by 14%. That's a 31% swing from November 2024 for those counting. And not to spike the football too hard, but I will say he did run on a pretty left populist platform.
Nice.
Leaning heavily into like his union credentials and stuff like that. And also Texas state Senate districts are bigger in terms of population than Texas U.S. House districts.
It doesn't like make sense to me. But
there's just fewer state Senate districts, I guess.
Yeah.
So they have a greater number of people in each of them,
which makes it more significant. Like that's a great sign.
It was a red district, a huge amount of people, and he won it by a big margin on a platform of left populism. And again, right, these are just state seats, and it's an off year, and we're sort of in an environment where the Republican Party is increasingly unpopular because of ICE stuff, because of foreign policy decisions, because of healthcare cuts, and all this other stuff. So I don't want to draw too many conclusions yet, but it's a good sign. Yeah,
things are looking good, but leave it to my Democrats to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Leave it to my Democrats, man.
I have this incredible line from CBS News, sort of to the thing that you were talking about before, quote, Republicans have not yet had any special election legislative pickups during Mr. Trump's second term. Democrats have flipped 8 previously held GOP districts in special elections since Trump took office.
None. Yeah. There hasn't been a single special election dub.
Yeah, they've got dubs, but they haven't flipped anything.
Well, no pickups.
No pickups.
Wow.
Not a single Republican pickup since Trump won election. And I think, again, Some of this is just Trump's unpopular. Some of this is Democrats for the last few years have performed better in special elections than Republicans have because high information voters turn out and Democrats do better among high information voters. So there's a number of factors, there's a number of interplay here that we have to pay attention to. But again, a good sign.
Yeah.
And especially this being 2026 is sort of like, I don't know. Good sign. Things feel not bad.
It is a good sign. You shouldn't be flipping districts crazy like this. Like, even in special election victories, they shouldn't be like 30-point flips, 20-something point flips. And there shouldn't be 0 pickups for Republicans. Like, there has to be at least something here to suggest that voters are just rejecting Republicans. You have polling data saying that Republicans want to abolish ICE more so than they did before. You have most people not fucking with mass deportations. Yep. You have Trump underwater on everything except, like, border security. Who fucking knows what that's all about?
And that's a fake issue anyway.
And that's a fake issue. That's just a made-up issue. When they actually have to contend with what border security means, they don't like the mass deportations. He's underwater on that. Republicans are underwater on everything, and they keep doubling down.
Yeah. And now I don't want to do the same thing we've accused moderate Democrats of doing, right? Using these like select electoral victories as a way to legitimize the idea that actually the party's on the come up, nothing's wrong, we're doing everything right, and we just have to wait for this backlash to Republicans to usher in, I don't know, the age of Gavin Newsom's supremacy or something like that.
Well, that's because we recognize that the Republicans are the ones fumbling here.
Yeah, the Republicans are the ones fumbling, but I don't want to do the same thing as them and like claim ideological victory when it could just be explained by
negative
Republicans.
polarization.
Yeah, negative polarization. Yes, exactly. But I do think we have another race we should pay attention to, which might speak to the left's come up. And again, none of this is guaranteed. This is not like it's not fate, right? I don't want to be fatalistic and say left populism is destined to win here. But I think we have another good sign coming out of New Jersey, and this was the one that was mentioned by the reviewer. So New Jersey just held a special election to replace Mikey Sherrill because she was a member of the House of Representatives. She was elected governor, and so they had to replace her seat. And the shoo-in candidate was moderate Democrat Tom Malinowski. And when I say moderate, I mean moderate.
Okay, just he is run-of-the-mill moderate.
Run-of-the-mill moderate Democrat.
Alyssa Slotkin Democrat?
I think so.
Okay.
He was a former U.S. House rep. He was out of Congress for a couple of years, and then he was running for this seat to get it back. Malinowski's been an outspoken supporter of Israel, but he did suggest that he would favor conditioning aid. And this is what's important about this race.
Right now?
He said he would be in favor of conditioning aid. Okay. And here's what's important about this race, right? Malinowski, he's been a supporter of Israel. He is not, he's done all the typical things that a moderate Democrat would do in terms of Israel. But because he said he would vote in favor of conditioning aid, AIPAC spent $2 million on this race.
Most evil organization on the planet.
To make him lose.
What are we talking
because
about?
He wasn't pro-Israel enough. There's another Democrat in the race that was more pro-Israel than him.
It doesn't even feel like, obviously, yes, it is because he's not pro-Israel enough, but it's insane that the bar of being pro-Israel is Israel can do literally anything that they want at any time, and you cannot do anything to stop them.
Right.
That's crazy.
And they dropped $2 million on this race.
How is AIPAC not a foreign lobby?
No, exactly.
How is it not?
It's crazy.
What does this have to do with things that make things good here?
Here's the craziest part, and probably the most deceptive, because it's hard to know if voters clock this kind of stuff. But these AIPAC ads, or the ads that were funded by AIPAC Super PAC, but it's all the same fucking thing. They didn't talk about Israel at all. Instead, they focused on how Malinowski voted to fund ICE in 2019.
Oh my God.
So AIPAC funds these ads against a guy who they publicly said was not pro-Israel enough. But they're not even talking about Israel in these ads. They're talking about ICE funding in the context of ICE being more and more unpopular, especially in a blue district like in New Jersey.
It's a vain appropriation of woke.
Yeah, well, it's not even like an appropriation of woke. They're like attacking him where they think the weak point is, but not because they like principally are against ICE, but because he's not pro-Israel enough.
Well, that's why it's an appropriation of woke. They don't give a I doubt AIPAC gives a shit about like anything that's actually going on. They want to run an ad to show that this guy may or may not support ICE because he wasn't pro-death enough.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're just
crazy.
faking their support for the issue, I bet, just to get this guy. That's insane.
Yeah, they dropped $2 million on these ads, and AIPAC might have succeeded in hurting Malinowski, but they utterly failed in getting their preferred candidate to win. The results aren't final yet, still being tallied, but as of right now, left populist candidate Analia Meha, I believe is how you say that, is in the lead, and she's an outspoken critic of Israel's called it a genocide in Gaza, pro-Palestinian, and she is now in the lead because of AIPAC's interference.
So they funded the other moderate Democrat who took support away from the moderate Democrat that would have been in the lead. They're spoiling the election. Yeah. That's so awesome.
They spoil, and like this is the kind of thing that doesn't happen very much, but I love to see the moderates fight, man.
No, absolutely.
Love it.
Love to see the moderates fight, and it's so funny that like they want everyone to be so Israel can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
When they get a national congressional seat, when they get a seat in the House of Representatives, when they get a seat in the Senate, that they're blind that anyone else could have another opinion and run independently of the AIPAC give me money apparatus. And now they're running away with it.
Yeah, no, like this guy just wasn't pro-Israel enough, so they wanted to make an example out of him and say, if you oppose Israel in any way or the funding of Israel from the United States in any way, then we will primary you and kick you out.
It's like the I hate you, let's die.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. This is why I say there's like inklings of a left populist movement, or if you prefer, a Democratic Tea Party moment, right? Breaking from the establishment and the typical wealthy interest that fund it. Because in the previous cycle, the UDP, which is AIPAC Super PAC, spent $33 million.
Oh my God.
Mostly in Democratic primaries.
And that's got to be like, if not the top, like near the top of like one group is like spent on primary.
I would guess, man. 33 million in Democrat. Yeah. I mean, they spent more money. I think they spent more money in any primary than ever before with getting Jamal Bowman out 2 years ago or whatever that was. But yeah, they spent 33 million last cycle, mostly in Democratic primaries. And this is the reason they spend all of this money, and sometimes don't even talk about Israel in their ads, is because their goal is to keep the party as moderate and centrist as possible. And of course, agreeable to Israel's interests. But all they do is spend money to tank progressives. And of course, they're aligned with the establishment itself, who gets funded by the same groups and the same entities or similar entities and stuff like that. It's like, at every single turn, there are these massive, and this is just one of them, right?
Yeah.
Like 33 million just from AIPAC Super PAC. But there are dozens and dozens of these groups.
Yeah, there's NORPAC, there's J Street, there's a bunch of other
not
ones.
Even just the Israel ones, but just the ones aligned with other moneyed interests that come in and try to sink progressive challengers that are proposing good things for the country. Because they don't want to see their fucking pockets tampered with.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And the sooner we come out and we name and blame and work against those interests specifically, I think the better off we're going to be, because people are tired of it, especially Democratic voters who have been telling their elected representatives for multiple years now, hey, Israel's gone too far, cut them off. And so when they see a group like AIPAC come in, to the extent that they were able to identify it, it's like, nah, fuck this guy.
Yeah, man, the swamp is literally right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Epstein is everywhere, is what we call last. Epstein is everything, right? And what we learned when we look at the Epstein files is that these guys were just so brazen about everything.
Yep.
They were just doing it out in the open, damn near. Obviously, it wasn't out in the open, but as close as you could get.
Yeah.
They were sending the emails, they were taking the pictures, they were going to the parties, they were begging to be at the parties if you're Elon Musk. And I think that's just what happens with every issue, really. The Epstein thing's kind of an eye-opening. You look at something like this, you look at AIPAC, and it's the swamp is right in front of your eyes. The swamp is on opensecrets.com.
Yeah.
And you can see exactly who's getting money and for what. And then you go to an issues page on whatever pack it is, and you see exactly what they're paying these people to say. And you look at their statements, and you see that they are not deviating from that line that they were told. Everything happens out in the open. All of this conspiracism that's been going on about these cabals that run the world, and I hate doing the cabal that run the world thing, because so often conservatives do it in an anti-Semitic way, and anti-Semitism over here.
Well, it's just the collection of money.
The collection of money, exactly.
The owning class that runs the world.
And AIPAC is just topical in that right now, but there's a bunch of other places. There's a bunch of other things.
And you look at Congress or you look at your state governments and you wonder why nothing works ever. It's because moneyed interests essentially get their way in most of these elections. Yeah. This is just one example where AIPAC fucked up, miscalculated, and now they're going to elect somebody who hates them even more than this other guy did. But so many moneyed interests, aside from just the Israel lobby, use their influence and wealth to influence elections to get people elected that are not in any way committed to doing anything good for you. And even if AIPAC got their way and elected a Democrat that didn't even say anything about Israel but just was more moderate, do you think a guy that is willing to have AIPAC spend on his behalf, do you think a guy like that is going to care about what you want on any other issue?
No.
He's he got no moral scruples with supporting a genocide. You think he's going to give a shit that you can't afford healthcare?
You can't give him $2 million for his next campaign. You can't bankroll an entire campaign. You can't be a top donor to him like AIPAC can. It's ridiculous. You go on all these moderates pages and AIPAC's in the top 5, if not the top 10.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, dude. And moneyed interests are out in the open, just openly damn near bribing these candidates to not fuck with you and to do whatever they say. And they do. And it's a system that works. And you don't have to look through these crazy smoke and mirrors to find that. You don't have to engage in wicked conspiracism to figure out what's actually going on behind the scenes. Yeah. Because none of this is happening behind the scenes. It's happening out in the open.
It's plain.
All you got to do is just look.
And like AIPAC's the one that receives a lot of attention right now. And I think it deserves it, right? Because any politician that is still out here going to bat for Israel, especially on the Democratic side, is just a fucking monster, in my opinion. But it's not just AIPAC, right? It's the oil lobby. It's the pharma lobby. It's the health insurance lobby. Like all these massive industries and those with moneyed interests in what happens in our politics, they all spend a massive amount of money. And it's the reason nothing fucking works. And so when the reason that I say all of this now is because it feels to me like there is growing sentiment among the Democratic the Democratic electorate, the Democratic constituency, to push back against these moneyed interests. And I think an agenda based around pushing back against them in favor of the working class, left populism, is the way forward to winning elections broadly. And again, we only have a couple of case studies here. We haven't had a nationwide election, and we won't until 2028. But based on what I'm seeing in a place like Texas and a place like New Jersey, it seems like people would be open to that. And I think it's the way forward.
And the tides are turning. And just speaking of like the money point, and speaking of how you cannot be a top donor like AIPAC can be a top donor. You, as just a regular everyday person who maybe gives $20 to a campaign, can never give enough money as the people who are affiliated with AIPAC would give to candidates.
You'll never be able
personally.
To match their power.
You'll never be able to do that. Since we started doing like 2 episodes a week, we've been interacting with like more people within like politics in general, right? We've interacted with some candidates. We've learned about like not like the behind the scenes, but just things regular people don't know about what actually goes on, what actually goes into running for office. And every single time we talk with some of these people that are running for, like, say, even state legislature, if you got a pulse, you can win a seat in the state legislature anywhere in the country. You know what I mean? And these people are fighting for it. What they do, it makes more sense for them to constantly be on the phone with big money donors than it does for them to be running around and talking to people, because that's how they actually get their campaign bankrolled, by just talking to people who can give them a lot of money. So they will spend hours and hours and hours and hours and have these 16-hour days, 7 days a week, just talking on the phone to people who can give them a bunch of money for people who they will then be beholden to, because we don't have a system where they can be funded otherwise.
And the other side of that, so you got those that are like willing to be corrupted by money in order to win elections and stay in office, right? And the other side of that is those same people being mortified to ever come out against, say, DTE in the state of Michigan, because they know they will get pummeled in a primary. And again, AIPAC received the focus in New Jersey. AIPAC dropped $2 million. It just lit that money on fire, essentially. But this happens literally everywhere. Anytime there's money, anytime there's a moneyed interest that might be threatened by something that a politician is running on, they will come in, use the power of their wealth to spend against them, and ensure that their interests are never, I don't know, blocked from being actualized by the people's levers of power. And it's why nothing ever fucking works. And I need Democrats to lock in and run against that.
People just need to understand that too. And
it's capital.
Speaking to like DTE and like corporate PAC money specifically, DTE is a big one here in Michigan because they suck bigly. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're running for office and you have to spend all of this time on the phone, this exhausting amount of time on the phone talking to donors, and DTE knocks on your door and says, "I'll give you 10 grand. Here, just take this 10 grand. Just, no strings attached, quote unquote. Just take this 10, 20, maybe even 50 grand. I'll just give it to you.
I'll dump 100,000 into a super PAC that will run ads for you."
If you're on the phone all that time and you're like, okay, I need to actually like talk to people, because you still have to show face as a politician, you'd be like, this is a boost that I might take. This is a boost that I can't afford to ignore. Unless you're one of the good ones like Abdul. And I think the only way out of that is to run fiercely and aggressively against those interests, name and blame them, and say, our government doesn't work specifically because entrenched money has corrupted it from top to bottom, in terms of state legislature, federal government, and everything else. And I really do think that's the way forward. Antagonism with the Epstein class, as it were. Yes.
The Epstein class of people. Anyways, we are now about to transition to our interview with Mike Nellis, Democratic strategist and host of Endless Urgency, where we talk a lot more about elections and how the Democrats should move forward. Without further ado, here's the interview. We are now joined by Mike Nellis, Democratic strategist and host of Endless Urgency over on Substack. Mike, thanks for joining.
Glad to be here, guys.
I want to start off on the point of Democratic strategist, because when our audience hears just the label Democratic strategist, I think they might immediately recoil, thinking about 2024, the consultants on the Harris campaign, and the different sort of headlines we saw last year about, like, how do we win back white men, spending $20 million here, $10 million there to figure that question out. So what is it you do as a Democratic strategist? And if you could clue us in, maybe without naming names, why do you think so many of them like miss the moment?
Well, Well, first of all, I also recoil when I hear the term Democratic strategist.
Okay,
Cool.
let's go.
Because it's a term that doesn't mean anything, and the only time you hear it is on cable news. But I do a lot of cable news hits, and they want you to be a Democratic strategist, so I started calling myself that. And part of the reason is because I'm tired of turning on the TV and seeing someone I've never heard of before tell me how to win an election when I've worked on a hell of a lot more elections than they have. So I've been doing this for 2 decades, guys. I dropped out of college to work for Barack Obama a billion years ago on his first campaign. Helped him win the Iowa caucus by knocking on doors and doing really tedious data entry. And what's unfortunate about the party is that tedious data entry is still a thing that people do right now, which is kind of sad. But I run a firm called Authentic. It's one of the largest digital fundraising and advertising firms in the space. So we work with a ton of candidates that you would know. So Gretchen Whitmer in the state of Michigan, Adam Schiff, Lauren Underwood here in the Chicagoland area, Cory Booker is a client of ours, Katie Hobbs is a client of ours, governor of Arizona, Mallory McMorrow, another Michigan one. So like we do 2 things, right? We do digital advertising. So we run their persuasion campaigns, and then we'll do their digital fundraising. So I joke that if you've ever gotten a fundraising email and you liked it, we wrote it. But if you didn't get it, somebody else did that.
Sure.
And then I provide, my strategy and communication support just as an aside to what I do. So like I will usually pick like anywhere from 5 to 10 campaigns that I work closely with and give them my political and messaging advice. So that's roughly what I do. And then your question on what went wrong with you specifically white men, right? Is that what you want to know?
Well, I'm just wondering what you think of the broad trend that we saw mostly last year. I think it's sort of dying away now that we, won bigly in the 2025 elections. But there was this trend for at least like half the year where a lot of Democratic consultants seem to be hyper focused on this issue of how do we win back white men. And our sense of that was always like, they have no idea what they're doing. Like, this isn't even the right question to even start asking. So I was wondering, like, if you could clue us into, like, what is, maybe this is kind of a mean way to phrase it, but like, what is the delusion that these people get themselves into?
Yeah, because it's also like the Joe Rogan of the left stuff too.
Yeah.
Like that, all that discourse is one kind of just amalgam of awful.
Yeah, so I'm unfortunately extremely guilty of this, and will do my mea culpa here. First of all, I also just want to point out, Jeremy, you use bigly just casually in a sentence, and I just think that's a funny word to use given Trump invented that word. It's bigly! Everybody knows.
Hey man, the osmosis gets to me.
No, for real. I find myself doing this all the time now, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm dancing like this. Well, look, first of all, I'm one of the founders of White Dudes for Harris. So either, depending upon which side you're on, you're welcome, or I'm sorry. I don't know. A lot of people either hated it or loved it. I think in my head, at the time of what we were doing, and there were a lot of other really great guys who were a part of that, it was, okay, we're doing black men for Harris, and we're doing black women for Harris, and we're doing Hispanic men for Harris, et cetera. And like those affinity groups are fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're carving up the party based on identity groups, then you need to include white men at the table for that. And I think it was important for white men to be seen in that election, as much as we were made fun of by Fox and the rest of them, standing up and trying to like help elect the first black female president in Kamala Harris, whom I worked for 5 years prior. I didn't work on the last campaign, but I worked on the first one, and then for like 5 years before that, building up her digital operation. I don't think there's a delusion here. I think there's delusion in the sense that you're right. Very few consultants in the Democratic Party know how to win young male voters, period. And that's why our numbers are being horrible. And I don't know if you guys are fans of The Simpsons, but there's an episode of The Simpsons where they flash back to Ned Flanders' parents. And Ned Flanders' dad is like a beatnik hippie, and they won't punish Ned at all. So he's a fucking terror. Can I curse on the show before I get you guys?
Absolutely.
So we're out of the first 90 seconds on YouTube. So like now I can drop F-bombs. But so he's a terror. And then he turns to a psychologist and he goes, "Doc, we've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas." And that's basically how the Democratic Party is with white men. They do nothing. And then they're like, wow, why are our numbers so bad? And 2024, for better or for worse, was the first election that Democrats in a long time actually tried to organize with white men and had conversations with them. And I would note, Kamala Harris did marginally better with white men than Joe Biden did 4 years prior, just by 1%. So it wasn't like a ton, but there was a little bit of movement in that. And so I think if the party wants to, one, win elections, but also just moderate the country, winning back a lot of people we've alienated over time by not putting their issues at the center of of our campaigns, is also something we should strongly consider doing. And I don't think, because this is where where a lot of consultants lose me, they'll start talking about how we shouldn't be talking about black female issues, or that we should abandon trans people. And I'm like, fuck that. We shouldn't do any of that. I don't want to abandon anybody.
Huge.
You got to open the door a little bit to everybody else. And like Scott Galloway says this all the time, is he's like, if you go to the Democratic Party's website right now, they have a page that says who we serve. And it lists basically every major affinity group that you can find. It's LGBTQ people, it's women, it's black women, et cetera. It doesn't have white men on it. And like, that I think is a problem in the Democratic Party, that there's nobody thinking how we organize what is basically the largest block of voters in the country right now. For better or for worse, you can love that or hate it, but we don't do anything. And I think it's a problem and it needs to be solved.
I'm really glad you brought up that point about like, fuck abandoning trans people, fuck abandoning these groups, because like the idea is I think a lot of these consultants, a lot of people that run infinite focus groups just think that like, oh, this issue polls bad in one aspect, so we just have to abandon it because they want to appeal to Republicans. But you wrote in one of your Substacks recently, the right-wing media ecosystem is going to lose its mind no matter what we do, so stop governing like Fox News approval is attainable. Go on Fox, go on Joe Rogan, argue for hours, explain the choices, defend the outcomes, sell the fight everywhere all the time. And I appreciate that perspective because, one, it's not abandoning trans people, it's not marginalizing groups that help build up the base of the party, and it's not excluding anyone else. Like, it's not abandoning them, it's not excluding these people, it's focusing kind of on a way forward, and it's not pandering to Republicans. Because I think a huge problem with Democrats now and in the past has been pandering to Republicans and trying to peel off that little bit of support. There's that one quote from Chuck Schumer where he said, for every blue-collar voter we lose, we'll pick up 2 in the suburbs. And I just think that ideology, that idea throughout the Democratic Party has been so incredibly toxic to just everything that they've done.
Well, I think two things. Like, one, politics is a game of addition, not subtraction. And I think the answer isn't to, make strategic choices about who you're organizing, but to actually try to effectively organize everywhere. Because, and I hate to use this as an example, but like John Fetterman's actually a perfect example of this. Part of the reason Fetterman is a United States Senator is he organized aggressively in rural areas in Pennsylvania and appealed to them. And some of that's because of who he is and the way that he talks. And I'm talking whatever happened to Fetterman, which I don't want to go down that
obviously.
fucking rabbit hole. But like, when was the last time that most people who live in rural communities or like dying manufacturing towns have even heard or seen from a Democrat physically in a long time? And I think that they're giving us such an opportunity to go do that. We should do it, but not at the expense of abandoning anybody else. And so this sort of if this, but then, I get 2 voters over here, I lose 1 over here, like stuff just kind of sucks. And it's pretty clear that the math doesn't work. Now, I'll defend one thing because, and you guys will probably disagree with me on this, which is fine. A lot of people rag on the Harris campaign for the Liz Cheney strategy. Okay. And they're like, we're going to bring in Liz Cheney and we're going to go after suburban voters. And I didn't really like it either. That's not my type of politics. Like Liz Cheney and her whole family drives me fucking crazy for their warmongering and the bullshit. And I spent, by the way, like 10 years of my life fighting George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and fighting the Iraq War and stuff like that. But I didn't see the polling data that they did. I didn't see the focus group data that they did. I don't know what their pathways to victory were. And they had 71 days to go, or however many days it was. Is it 71 days?
107.
107. I always get it wrong. They basically had all bad options and they chose one and they ran with it. It didn't work. But for all I know, that may have been the best bad option that they had. And so I think there's a lot of people on the internet that want to be like, well, it clearly didn't work. So all these Democratic strategists are fucking morons. They don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, well, one, what have you done lately? A random person on the internet who's mad about something. But 2, I don't know what I don't know. And I do know that the Harris campaign, based on their tracking poll, closed really strongly at the end. So that strategy may have worked, and it may have worked if they hadn't like refused to respond to the trans ad at the end because the election was close. So I don't know, but it goes to another thing, which is that politics is a science and it's an art. And you find that there's this massive divide in the party where, in my opinion, the left, quote unquote, the professional left, to the extent that such a thing exists, they're very focused on like the art of it, of getting the policy right and the rhetoric right and making people feel things deep in their soul. And then the establishment tends to be like, the math is the math and we're going to do this and we're going to play these numbers. And if I play these games, then I can just win this election and I can turn it out. And that works sometimes. And I think it's both. Like what Obama got right in 2008 and what Joe Biden got right in 2020 was there was math and science that backed up the decisions that they were making, but they also had effective messaging and they had people believing in stuff and there was like some brand to it. Harris didn't have enough time to do that, but I don't think it's too many arguments in politics are like, but or, and they're actually yes and. And so to me, it's like I would be doing both and to the extent that you can. Does that make sense or am I just rambling at that point?
Yeah, I think so. And, I'm not going to say that Kamala Harris lost the election because of Liz Cheney. They did like 2 events together. You know what I mean? Right. Like the media talked about it far more than they were actually like in the same spaces together. Right. But I think the broader problem, and I think like the left-wing critique of it, is that Kamala Harris as a whole, and Liz Cheney was an extension of this insofar as she was a part of the campaign, Kamala Harris ran as the establishment pick. And I think part of that was that like she maybe couldn't separate herself from Joe Biden because she was the vice president for Joe Biden, but also like at a time when people are upset about the economy, upset about foreign wars, upset about a number of other things related to the status quo, the establishment candidate's going to suffer. And I mean, we saw that around the world, right? Like it wasn't just the United States that the that the incumbents lost, it was like everywhere
with no
across
consistent ideological bent to it at
Right.
all. Everybody lost, and Kamala actually performed better on average than everybody else.
Yeah, I don't think that many people are going to make it out of like the COVID recovery, just in general. Like, it's too painful of a time for everyone, for anyone to be looking at an election like they may have usually. Like we said, it's a wave. But I do think like the Liz Cheney thing specifically, and I don't want to harp on like the disagreement here too much, is like it's to me, yes, it's just one thing, but broadly, I do think that campaign did lean a lot into trying to get Republican voters, trying to peel off the guys who are disgusted by Trump, who don't like Trump, the never Trumpers, the Lincoln Project dudes. And I just don't think it's something that I want to see in the future. I can concede the idea that they did their own internal polling. Maybe that is the best of a bad option. But I do think like just maybe ideologically and on the art side of the political silence, it's just not the kind of thing that I want to see going in the future. And I also want to get your opinion on what you do want to see out of Democrats going into the future, considering that like you have been a person who's on the inside, you do know more, you have engaged a lot with elections, a lot with what you call the science of political science. Where do you think that Democrats need to go if they want to win in the future or keep winning in the future?
Yeah. And I'm going to answer that, but I want to add one more thing on just the Liz Cheney stuff, which is to again reiterate, like one, there's known unknowns, at least to us here. And so that's part of, I just always add that nuance to it. And I'll remind them, and I'm not directing this specifically at you, but I'll direct this at people that like yell at me on the internet about my takes. But there's this idea that like, man, if we just ran like a fire-breathing liberal and we just focused on base turnout, we'd be able to win. And that's basically the Jasmine Crockett strategy in Texas. And like, I like Jasmine Crockett a lot. She's going to get demolished in the general election in Texas if she wins that primary because of the strategy that she's running, but also the brand that she's created for herself. And the point I did the Young Turks with Sank for like an hour, like a couple months ago on his show. And he started, yelling at me and like, look, you mentioned I'm a more establishment aligned consultant probably than I am a leftist aligned candidate. But if you look at my career, like I worked for Bernie Sanders, I worked for Kamala Harris, I worked for Barack Obama, I worked for Ilhan Omar. So like I work with people that I think are serious about winning and serious about helping people. And I don't really care about the ideological bend because 99% of the time we're arguing about fractional differences between our fucking healthcare policies. And like, they're both generally good and better than what we have. And I'm not saying that those conversations aren't important on some level, but I just don't get like wrapped up in that so much. So I've been on both sides of these fights and I'm working multiple races right now where I'm on different sides of that fight. Like I'm working with Peggy Flanagan right now in Minnesota, who is, she's an elected statewide official, but the establishment doesn't want her. And I'm working with Nick Morrow and obviously Abdul's in that race too, but like the establishment doesn't want either of them. So like, it's just, I'll stand up to them when I need to. But my overall point is, if the left's idea of strategy for winning elections was we could just go get more base voters and that we could appeal to those people and that there's this idea that a lot of people who aren't turning out would turn out if we ran an AOC or a Bernie Sanders, and that may be true. I don't know. I haven't seen it. There would be one fluke of a win somewhere that you could point to that would be in a place that's competitive. And every time the left points out, they go, well, AOC beat Ed Crowley in that race. And I'm like, sure, which AOC outworked the shit out of Ed Crowley in a Democrat plus 68 district. And they'll go, Zohran Mamdani beat Andrew Cuomo. And I'm like, that's great. That's the weirdest election I've ever seen. And Zohran Mamdani is the most talented candidate running against maybe the worst candidate I've ever seen in Andrew Cuomo. So by the way, in a ranked choice voting with public financing. So it's like, I want the left to go prove to me that they can win a battleground race or a Senate race or something like that to make me go, okay, maybe you guys are right. Let's really buy into that. Otherwise, the other strategies make more sense to me because those are the ones that win elections. And so that's my just one pushback to that, Sage, Gage, excuse me. I've been watching The Boys, so the name Sage is like stuck in my head. If you've seen The Boys.
I do wonder, just on that point really quickly, like I do wonder what you think of the amount of sabotaging that like the establishment tends to do with progressive candidates, like in primaries specifically. Like Schumer tried to sink Zohran the best he could, right?
No.
Like, you don't think so?
Schumer didn't do anything. Schumer and Akeem didn't do anything in that race.
But what I mean is, like, by doing nothing, you are paving the way for the guy who is, like, considered the incumbent or considered the one with most name ID, Andrew Cuomo. Like, if they didn't want Andrew Cuomo to win, then they should have said, hey, vote for the other guy, but they didn't at any point. And then, of course, there's the donors, many of which we probably don't even know their names of. So my point is, like, if we want, and I hear you, like, I'm not saying we should run a socialist like in, the heart of Kansas or something like that. Sure. But I think the broad position of the left is just like, and I think I've heard you talk about this before, like left-wing economic populism, Yeah. Like there's a lot of smaller issues that we have to find a way to talk about, especially to more like conservative blocks of voters. But the one thing that I think can bind the interests of various populations together is left-wing economic populism, and talking about how the government can make improvements in your life. And, it's things like Medicare for all, it's things like universal broadband and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, let me answer that. And then I want to talk about political sabotage too, because I have that's a particular word that I hate. Sure. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, but I want to answer because Gage, you asked me this question like 5 minutes ago and I didn't answer it. So I want to answer that now. So I think where I want the Democratic Party to go, and there's basically 3 key areas for me, is I think we have to embrace the largest set of economic populism proposals since the New Deal. I think we have to. Simply because the economy is fucking falling apart with AI and robotics. 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. This is why I worked for Bernie in 2016. Like, I loved Bernie Sanders and I thought he was right on more stuff than Hillary Clinton was. And I was proud to vote for him. And I think the party's embraced some of that, but not enough of it. And I think we're going to have to be aggressive on that. 2, I think the party's going to have to embrace the most aggressive, I describe it as vicious sometimes, anti-corruption measures that you've ever seen in the history of the United States. So it's me, I'm channeling FDR in the beginning, and then I'm going to channel Teddy Roosevelt at the turn of the century on just busting these monopolies and busting this corruption. I want to bust up Polymarket. I want to send all these people that are selling. I want to send Jared Kushner to prison for the deals that he's making, selling out the United States and the Middle East. Like, we have to be hard on that. We got to reform presidential pardons. We got to get money out of politics, and we got to do it, and we got to be vicious about it. And then the third thing to me is, actually, I guess I have 4 things. So the third thing is, I want the Democratic Party to actually, and Zoran Mondani will disagree with me on this, or Zoran fans will disagree. I want the party to embrace rugged individualism in a way that I don't think the party currently does. And that doesn't mean I think we reject collectivism in this, but I think we need to create the conditions for people to be able to live the lives that they want without the government interfering or telling them what to do. And I think the Republicans have given us such an opportunity to own that, because they want to tell you what to do. Like, right now, they're attacking your Second Amendment right to have a firearm that you legally own and concealed carry in your jacket at a protest. And I think there's so many opportunity to take freedom back from them, and Democrats are so afraid to do that. And I don't want the government telling people what to do, and I think the party should embrace a little bit more of that. Like, me personally, I tend to be pretty libertarian on personal rights and liberties. Like, I don't think the government should tell a woman what to do with her body. I don't think the government should tell people to get married. I don't think the government should be telling me what to do unless there's a clear public safety reason for that, which would be like, for instance, we have vaccine mandates so that our kids don't get measles, and we should regulate, if not outright ban, like machine guns, and make sure that our kids are safe in school. So obvious things like that. I sometimes describe it because I hate big brother Democrat politics, and there are a lot of people in the party that love to do this shit. But the difference between the two is a cigarette ban in a restaurant protects me. If you smoke, Jeremy, you could give me cancer, and that's wrong. So I'm being protected from secondhand smoke, right? So that makes sense. But then and there's a lot of Democrats in Chicago that like to do this shit. They're like, we're going to regulate the size of your soda at the movie theater. And they're like, you can only have a 40-ounce soda. And you know what?
That shit's insane.
It's my God-given right that if I want a 120-ounce soda and a giant fucking thing of popcorn, that's between me and God. Let me do that. Yeah. And I want the Democratic Party to get to that, because the Republicans have given us this opening where, to them, the Constitution and your personal liberties are situational. They want abortion rights for them because they're paying for abortion rights. Like, Donald Trump fucking talked about it on Howard Stern in the 90s. They want the Second Amendment for them. They want the First Amendment for them. Let's take that stuff back. And then the fourth thing is, it's about how we use power. Because this is why my Substack is called Endless Urgency. I admire the aggressive way that Donald Trump wields power. Now, he wields it for the worst possible things. It's like his own wit and whims, his grievances, to steal from people. It's never to help you. But if we did that and we pushed the bounds of our power to help people, people will reward us for that, I think, because they like that Donald Trump was moving quickly. They like that he was breaking a political system that hasn't delivered for them in a very long time. And I think we should do that. And that's why when people ask me, they'll go, Mike, do you think we should abolish the filibuster? And do you think we should pack the Supreme Court with more justices? And I'm like, yeah, but that's step one of a 5,000 step plan of what we should do. Day one, Democratic president should do that. Day two, we should make Puerto Rico and Guam and DC a state. And on day three, we should fix reapportionment in the House. And day four, we should pass the Voting Rights Act and stop the suppression of the black vote in Mississippi, and on and on and on. And then when Fox News freaks out about it, the answer should be, go fuck yourself. And by the way, it should not be go fuck yourself in a press release or a tweet. It should be on the network in Sean Hannity's face. And the administration should have a ton of people who are able to go do that and argue with them and make them kick you off the network. Okay. I'm waiting for them to kick me off of Fox News. Okay. I'm waiting for it to happen. Please, for the love of God. But they love me because they're so used to mealy-mouthed Democrats that won't come on and defend their party. I'm actually like a novelty to them. There should be 1,000 of me doing that.
Absolutely. I think elected officials should be out there doing that as well. I think that the people we choose to represent us should be fighters. I think they should be out there waging the rhetorical fights every chance that they can get. And I think that when I look at the Democratic Party, that's not something that I really see as much as I would like to. Yeah. I think they're too busy worrying about the right combination of words that will convince the perfect, most optimal amount of people that they never really take a stand.
Well, that's like this language on, I don't really like the language of like retrain ICE. I hate it more than anything that I've seen from the party in the last year. And maybe we'll get into that. But like, I'll tell you, like, one of the problems we have in the Democratic caucus is when we were doing the government shutdown towards the end of last year, and they kept doing all of these events where it was like every member of the Democratic Party in the House was with Hakeem Jeffries at the House showing that they were there to work, and they kept doing these fucking photo ops. And I was like, one photo op is fine. But then I need all 214 of you to go do radio interviews and TV interviews and Substacks and go back to your district and sell this shit to people. And the problem is only half of them could even be presentable on TV. And the number of people who would be effective on TV is in the single digits. So it's like AOC, Adam Schiff, Dan Goldman. Like there's a couple that are on there. Most of them are really bad and they can't stick to their talking points. And it's a problem that we don't have enough people that can go on TV, and people rag on Hakeem. And I like Hakeem more than I dislike him. But like people rag on him because he's not as good at TV, which is fine. But like then elevate other members of the party who can go on and be on TV. Like Marie, I always get her name wrong, but Marie
Gluesenkamp-Perez. Yeah.
Gluesenkamp-Perez. Thank you. It's like a hard name to say and remember. And then I want to say MPG, but like then nobody knows who I'm talking about. Because she's not as famous as AOC yet. But like she's really fucking good on TV. And like I'd like to see her more. Now she might be more moderate for the taste of like you guys. She's more moderate than I am, but like she's really good on TV at connecting with people. So I want more of that. And then Jeremy, I want it because I wrote it down in big letters. See, I wrote the word sabotage here because I want to talk about that for just a minute because this is what drives me nuts. There is no sabotage in primaries. There's no sabotage in primaries. You either win or you lose. Bernie was not sabotaged in 2016. Your favorite progressive XYZ candidate is not sabotaged. They just lost. Like they weren't able to get enough votes. They weren't able to raise enough money. I'm sorry that a super PAC came in and fucked up your candidate. Like you need to have an answer for that. And that's my, and listen, I've been on a ton of campaigns where like, I love the candidate and a super PAC came in and fucking nuked them. And like, I don't like that either. But if the left is going to ascend, if we're going to have more AOCs, if we're going to have more, like I love Mallory McMorrow and like, she's going to have to overcome some stuff in that race. Like, then you got to figure out how to overcome it. So it isn't sabotage. Like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries not endorsing Zoran is not sabotage. It's not. It's just that's politics.
I suppose sabotage might sound a bit too conspiratorial. I guess what I just mean is like the establishment putting their thumb on the scale. And I totally agree. The left's got to be able to win. We should fully anticipate that those counter to our interests, even within the party, are not going to like get on our side. Like that's just a thing that's going to happen. But like, we can criticize the establishment for doing that, right? And we should expect that they won't be allies in the fight or in like the agenda that you laid out before, which I totally agree with, by the way, the anti-corruption stuff, wielding power when we have it. I think there are a lot of people within the party right now that have power. Chuck Schumer's one of them that I would name that would not be on board for us doing that kind of thing because it would threaten the interests of his donors and the people that he spends his time with.
Right.
But I think I just get frustrated with the establishment choosing candidates. Like, I mean, we talked about Michigan, like Haley Stevens, for example, put aside, McMorrow versus Abdul. But like the establishment choosing Haley Stevens is insane to me, right? And Haley Stevens would not be on board with the stuff that we've laid out. So I think my question was just intended to poke at the idea that like there are enemies within the party too that I think we need to take seriously if we want to get to a point where fascists like Trump can never win again.
No, I get it. I just hear a lot of, and I'm not trying to like overlay other people's comments on top of you, so I apologize if I'm overreacting, but like politics isn't fair. And I feel, and I said this to Sank, and I think Sank is like to me, and I love Sank. I've known him for 20 years, but like he's the perfect example of a leftist that's like still mad about like Howard Dean losing in 2004, and like which is fine. I'm also mad about Howard Dean losing in 2004. He was my favorite candidate, but like I think it's based on the assumption that politics is fair, and politics is absolutely not fucking fair. And so you have a lot of candidates on the left. I think you have a lot of concurrent problems on the left, some of which are the left's fault, some of which aren't. But like the left picks bad candidates, in my opinion. The left makes a lot of unforced errors, in my opinion. The left
Shout out Graham Plattner.
Shout out Graham Plattner with his accidental Nazi tattoo. Good luck to him.
Crazy.
So funny, dude.
Might still be a United States senator, which like I told you guys off stream, I was like, might as well just run him for president at that point because the guy's fucking
It looks like he might be. He keeps outraising everybody else. He's doing crazy in the polls. It seems like every time it comes out that he did something crazy, he gets another boost. He's the most man ever.
I mean, we'll see what the general election looks like. I'm going to stay. This is the same way I feel about Texas. I'm staying as far away from that shit show as possible. And I'm like, you all go have fun. Like, I just, the thing about Plattner is just that, like, I worry that he fucks up the general and that there's something I don't know about.
Me too, brother. Me too, brother.
Like, I don't have an accidental Nazi tattoo. You know, I just like that. That's a bad thing to me. But anyway, it's just, I feel like the left spends a lot of time thinking that they can work the refs. And if they complain enough about the problems that they can't solve, they're going to win. When the answer is like, you got to figure out how to deal with super PAC money. And like, you know, and like Nina Turner is like a perfect example of this. I don't know if you followed when she was running for Congress in the special election. She was on track to win that race until she pissed off Clyburn. There was no reason for her to attack Clyburn. Like, she could have sat down with him. They could have had conversations with the establishment. She could have been like, hey, let me work with you here. But there's like no flexibility on those things. And so they create a lot of unforced errors. And in my opinion, she should be a member of Congress right now, but she's not because she fucked it up. And it just drives me crazy. And then they want to yell at Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Well, the reason they're in power is they're better at winning elections than you. So like, go find a candidate and go win an election and then prove me wrong. And again, I've lost a lot of races like that too. So I'm not, you know, I've also won a lot of them too. I've won a lot of ones with like, worked for Ilhan. I worked for Michelle Wu in Boston, who nobody wanted at the time. Like, she was primarying. People forget now she's like an internet sensation, but like nobody wanted her to be the mayor of Boston in the beginning. Like, she had to scrap and claw her way, but she was really smart about it and she built a coalition. And I think Bernie almost there on building a coalition, so close, but couldn't figure out how to bring black voters into his tent. And like, that held him back. And you got to put it all together. It's why I really like AOC, because I think if anybody could do it, AOC is the one who could put it all together.
You know, and maybe this is a true sign that everybody here is at least somewhat on the left, because we spent most of this just doing recriminations about the past. But I do want to ask you about the future and what we can do moving forward. So the Trump administration is faced with controversy after controversy when it comes to Epstein. Yep. We talked about that on your show just about an hour ago. Or, you know, he's got lots of controversies about foreign wars, Venezuela, Iran, what's happening in Gaza, and so on. There's, of course, ICE occupying Minneapolis still, maybe more cities in the future. He went on an affordability tour, constantly saying affordability is a hoax and nobody should be talking about it. So my question is, with all of these controversies, with the fact that Trump has become more and more unpopular, what do you think Democrats should do, especially given that this is an election year, 2026? How do you think Democrats should be contending with all these different layers of controversy and unpopularity from the Trump administration?
Yeah, well, I think we start in a position of don't fuck this up, which the Democratic Party is really good at. And
100%.
The pendulum swings, and the pendulum is going to swing hard back to us no matter what kind of, you know, fuckery he does with the midterm elections. I don't think there's anything he can do to stop us from taking back the House. Now, I then go from don't fuck this up to like leveling it up, because I believe that pretty strongly we need to have an incredible showing in 2026 to overcome whatever he wants to do to try to overturn the election or meddle with it in some meaningful way. And I think we need to take back the Senate too. And I think we have an opportunity to do it. So for me, one, you want to create the conditions. Like, Democratic Party brand's in the shitter. I think everybody knows that. Like, nobody likes us. And I think when Democrats won the off year election in Virginia, New Jersey, and with Zoran and everything, Hakeem Jeffries tweeted my least favorite thing I've seen from a Democrat maybe all year, which was like, it's like, Democrats are back. And I'm like, no, we're not. No, we're not. And when we win in 2026, we ain't back. And I'm going to shout that in every meeting that I'm in for the next 3 years until we elect a Democratic president, because we're not back until we win a nationwide election. And people are going to hate us. There's just nowhere else for them to go, because now they hate this guy worse and he's the one that's in power. So I think you've got to find candidates that can rise above the Democratic Party brand and are good for their district. And I think that part of what concerns me is that this nationalization of partisan politics across the board makes it harder for Democrats to win. And like, this is the old, not the old, but like the abolish ICE conversation. And Jeremy, I'm going to slightly put you on blast, because my team, when they were like, you should do this podcast, showed me a reel that you had made, a short form video. That was you talking about Democrats abolishing ICE in 2018 and then winning the House, right? Which, in my opinion, is not at all what happened, because every candidate that won a battleground district was not talking about abolish ICE and was probably very likely saying that they wouldn't abolish ICE. And the only point that I'm making is, I think that we have a problem in the party where there's these litmus tests of you have to use these exact specific words and phrases that we need to win. Like Jared Golden's retiring, so we're probably going to lose Maine's 2nd congressional district unless we nominate a very conservative candidate. Like that's one we've now got to pick up for. So I just want to make sure we rise above the brand and people can feel independent to talk about those things, then come back on the big issues when we need them. And then that we can win some of these like Senate races. Like Mary Peltola is not going to be talking about abolish ICE in Alaska. She's going to be talking about fish because that's what the biggest issue in Alaska is. So I think that's got to be a big part of it. And then Democrats have to come up with the 3 stories that nationwide we're talking about Trump, that we can and the Republicans to filter everything through. And then each candidate can kind of individually run through that. And to me, it would be the economy, it would be safety, and it would be corruption. And every issue should filter through all 3 of those. And if it doesn't, don't fucking talk about it. Like it doesn't matter if it's not one of those 3. And like, that's how I create my content. If you look at my social media, I'm either talking about corruption, the economy, or safety. Otherwise, I'm not talking about it unless I'm just having fun and goofing around, which I do plenty. But I'm not running for Congress.
Just to defend myself briefly.
Yeah, please. I put you on blast. I didn't mean to. But like,
no, you're good. The purpose of that video and like abolish ICE had like what the 30% popularity back in 2018, something like that. Like the purpose of that video was not to say Democrats won because some people were calling to abolish ICE, but just to point out that like it's like these slogans when they exist, defund the police, abolish ICE, they, at least to my knowledge, don't cause Democrats to lose. Like I see this narrative sometimes that these sort of catchy slogans, maybe controversial, fiery slogans, are the reason Democrats lose. At least that's how I see it sort of narrated. And I just don't agree with that narrative. But yeah, no, I totally agree. We should be leading with anti-corruption. We should be leading with economic populism. And in those districts that are conservative, we should be saying, hey, look, ICE is not making this place any safer.
Right.
I believe that brings us to the end of the allotted time that we have here. Look, Mike, we really appreciate you coming on. I think these conversations are important, and I think it's good to iron out the differences when we get the chance. So thank you for coming. Is there any, well, first let us know where our listeners can find you, and any parting words that you have, feel free to share.
Yeah. Well, my parting words would be this: keep pushing me and keep pushing us and keep pushing the candidates. Cause I was like, again, I've been aggressive in like how I view things right now. I ain't right about everything. Okay. And I was 25 and idealistic, and I don't say that the way that a lot of other shitty older Democrats will do it. Be like, oh, look at these like young 25-year-olds. They think they're so. I'm not doing that. Like, keep fucking pushing. I spoke to my friend Rachel Cohen, who's a creator like me, and like she's pushing me really hard to embrace and abolish ICE, and I don't think she's right about that. But I tell her, like, she's in the activist wing of the party. You have to create the conditions for me to get candidates to embrace abolish ICE, because candidates are going to be naturally cautious anyway, because the only thing that most of them care about is their next election. So don't take this conversation and me arguing with you guys as me telling you that you're wrong.
Of course.
And then if you enjoyed this conversation and would like to hear more of me and my bad takes, you could find me at endlessurgency.com for my Substack, where I have interview shows and I post my rants, usually where I'm just pissed off about whatever Trump has done. Then you go to youtube.com/Mike_Nellis to learn more.
All right. Mike Nellis, thanks for joining the show. The congregation is missing someone. And that someone, dear listener, is you. The congregation awaits you over on our Discord. If you go into the description of this episode right now, there will be a link to join the Head in the Office Discord, where you will find more than 1,000 like-minded individuals for you to interact with. And maybe most importantly, we'll be there.
1,000 members strong. It is a burgeoning community of hit-o-heads.
That's right.
Ready to receive you into their arms. Make you a part of the community. Vest you as a hit-o-head.
Over on Discord, we have discussions. You can interact with other hit-o-heads. And maybe, for some fun, we can do some community events. And we know that you want to be a part of that. Only available over on the official Head in the Office Discord. Coming back now to round out the show, we got to talk about DHS, and we got a couple of extras.
We got to talk about the world. We got to talk about geopolitics. We got to talk about possible World War III. Who knows?
I love World War III talk.
I love World War III talk.
I love World War III. I love death, destruction, war.
Yup.
I am Raytheon.
If you want to moderate aid to Israel, no.
No. I got tanks to sell, baby. I got missiles to send.
I got investments in Raytheon. My portfolio has been diversified amongst all the major defense companies, and I need them to defend
Exactly.
something. But before we talk about that, we do have to talk about DHS funding. I'm not going to get too into the weeds of like what's going on, frankly, because nothing has really happened.
Yeah.
I think to no one's surprise, negotiations stalled. If negotiations have even happened, it's not working. But the basic rundown of the situation as of Monday, February 9th is this. Funding for DHS runs out this Friday, February 13th, and negotiations haven't gotten off the ground in any serious way as of today, Monday. Congress is supposed to adjourn or like go to recess on Thursday.
Yeah.
Who knows if that's actually going to happen, if the funding doesn't happen? Who knows if the government's going to shut down? I genuinely just don't know. But what I do know is that I have no trust in my Democrats,
My Democrats,
to
baby.
get this done. I just do not believe that there's anything that there's any like lever of power that they're willing to push to put leverage on conservatives to make it like painful for them to not at least unmask ICE agents or reaffirm that ICE agents need to follow the law in general.
Well, I saw a Chuck Schumer interview, I think from over the weekend, where he was like, we need to have no masks on ICE except in extraordinary circumstances.
Why?
Just leaving a back door there.
Why would you say that everything is an extraordinary circumstance to these guys? You give them an inch and they will take a mile. We have never not seen that with this entire mass deportation operation. Even before the Supreme Court said it was illegal for them to just grab people off the streets who had an accent just because they had an accent or looked brown, they were doing it. There's not anything these people will moderate themselves on, especially when you have Stephen Miller breathing down the neck of every single fucking ridiculous dumbass ICE agent telling them that they need to grab like 5 trillion people every single day from the country. Now that you have government accounts going and posting, let's get 100 million people out of the country. You cannot give them anything. There is no point in moderating when it comes to ICE. And like, I don't think the general public is that pro-ICE. I don't think the Republicans trying to make everything defund the police works when it comes to ICE. Because again, people do not interact with ICE like they interact with the police. Nobody should ever really know what ICE is. Citizens shouldn't have to deal with ICE. And the fact that citizens are confronted with the horrors of ICE every single day is honestly a problem for the agency and its prospect for funding in an ideal world.
I mean, like when they're just like killing people in the streets or otherwise maiming and brutalizing people, I feel like it's the easiest argument ever to be like, hey, these guys are not keeping us safe. I don't know, man. I feel like it's right. Like abolish ICE is gaining popularity. I get that a lot of Democrats are afraid of it, but imagine if they tried.
Like, imagine
which is the story for everything, you know, like everything about the Democrats. But like if they were actually putting some like rhetorical power behind convincing people that abolishing ICE is the way to go, I feel like it could be even more popular.
It could be even more popular. And even if Democrats, let me do the dumb devil's advocate thing here. Like even if Democrats didn't want to abolish ICE ultimately, even if they thought that that was politically toxic, or they just believed in immigration enforcement on its principle because
we simply have to kill people.
We simply have to do all this, guys. We simply have to have a little brutality. We're a nation of laws, as my favorite President Obama once said. Even if you're one of those kind of Democrats, doing anything here would help quell the calls to abolish ICE. Doing anything, putting your foot down for any accountability measure and actually drawing a red line and getting that accountability measure in will help quell calls to abolish ICE.
I would be a bit less hard on them if anybody at all had proposed something as an alternative to abolish ICE that wasn't just give ICE more money.
No, literally, because that's what it is.
I haven't seen anybody like they've said reform ICE. They've said I've seen some calls to like defund ICE, but like what does that mean if not just getting rid of it?
I mean, they had a plan before to give ICE more money to buy body cameras.
Exactly, like, $20 million.
Fucking stupid.
I haven't seen any alternative that isn't just give these guys more money.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. And right now, the top demands are still the judicial warrants and unmasking ICE agents. But as you said, Chuck Schumer's already like kind of like moderating the position. Backtracking on masks is insane to me. Because that's the most egregious, like the most like forward-facing egregious at the forefront of everybody's mind abuse of ICE.
It's like the easiest demand. It doesn't cost anything.
It doesn't cost anything, and they shouldn't be masked anyway. We shouldn't have like damn like I don't know fucking vigilantes running around like, or just people who are anonymous who can't be held accountable for anything running around.
To like draw out an exception for them is crazy because it's like no secret police except sometimes.
No secret police except when it's warranted. Except when the state can't do secret police except when like we say so. Like, come on.
Like, this operation is totally illegitimate, man. You should act like it.
Yeah, but no, Chuck Schumer, Israel's #1 soldier, will not do it. True. That guy just loves things that are awful. The GOP, like, as The Hill is reporting, the GOP doesn't look like they will punt on either issue. They are, like, standing firm on, no, you're not getting anything right now. So once again, my Democrats, do we have faith in them?
We'll see what happens.
I think it's entirely up to them to prove me wrong on whether or not they'll do anything. Because at this point, I'm going to operate on the assumption that the government's probably just going to open up.
I don't think much is going to happen here. And again, Democrats don't have that much like literal power in terms of votes. Republicans control both chambers. If they can't peel off enough Republicans in the Senate, then like it's not going to matter. Democrats are sooner going to cave in the Senate than any Republicans are going to cave in the Senate to make something happen here. So that's why we've been saying for a couple of weeks now that the work here is mostly rhetorical And as I think you guys are well aware, they have utterly failed to do anything rhetorical.
Yes.
There's a couple of Democrats calling to abolish ICE, or at least laying out a plan for what a post-ICE future could look like. But it's not any of the ones that the establishment gives a fuck about or gives money to. So it doesn't matter if people like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are offering some milquetoast solutions and then even backtracking on those milquetoast solutions.
Nope.
So what am I supposed to do, man?
Exactly.
My Democrats.
And backtracking is kind of like the news right now when it comes to the DHS like funding battle. Like it's not like the DHS, the government will partially shut down. DHS will shut down if a deal isn't reached by February 13th, right? Just DHS. The Democrats already gave up the leverage of like the other 5 departments that were originally coupled with DHS. And now news is coming out that we may be giving up more leverage. Right now, all we have is DHS. Remember, ICE being under the DHS budget. But there are some Democrats that want to give up more leverage and fund everything in DHS except for ICE, like Connecticut Representative Rosa DeLauro, by funding FEMA, TSA, and the Coast Guard, etc. for a full year.
I guess.
So let's just fund every other DHS function except for ICE.
These dudes are like allergic to leverage.
No, exactly. Democrats love giving up. Democrats love not doing anything. Democrats love not exercising power.
Like they disagree in principle with the idea of leverage. Like they think that like taking political leverage by saying like I'm not going to give money to any of these unless you cave on my demands. They think that's like immoral.
Yeah.
Because they acted like this last time too.
Yeah.
Because they were talking about like, oh, all the federal workers, they've been without work, without paychecks for like over a month now. We need to like, this isn't fair. We need to just give up and like move on because these people are hurting. It's like, first of all, blame that on Republicans.
Yep.
Second of all, that's how negotiations work.
Yep.
You have something that they want, so they got to give you something that you want. That's again, I'm explaining basic ideas.
You have something that's kind of causing chaos and making it look like they can't run the government.
Which they
People are responding to that and being like, wow, Republicans can't run the government. And you're like, guys, this sucks.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Open up the government. I'm not going to get anything I want. And that's what's happening here. If you fund literally everything in the government but ICE, everything in the government is funded. ICE already has more money than God authorized in the big beautiful bill. If ICE is shut down because you can't agree on like funding through the end of the year, ICE isn't shut down. Just like how ICE wasn't shut down during the government shutdown last year.
Yeah.
They were giving out super checks.
Yeah.
They have the money to operate. They don't need this funding. This is giving up every single ounce of leverage that you have just because.
That's why they should have shut the entire government down over this issue.
Yeah.
Which obviously that ship has sailed, but like they should have shut everything down, made the argument that we cannot in good faith fund Trump's government if he's going to continue to kill American citizens in the street. And then every single hour of every day that government shutdown is going on, you have the best people that can do media in the Democratic Party out making the case for why, hey, we can't fund the government because they're killing people and there's no accountability.
Yes.
Like that's, again,
because like the government is killing people and there's no accountability.
It's not like a complicated equation. You just get out there and make the case, but they don't seem willing to do that.
They're allergic to doing it, man, and it sucks, and that's why I legitimately have no faith, and it just sucks to talk about this issue because I know they're doing nothing behind the scenes. I know they're gonna cave. It's just what are they gonna cave on? What like the GOP is the only party that can actually stand 10 tones down on things, and it's the most evil, awfulest shit ever.
Yeah. It's always the I'm gonna kill you thing.
It's the I'm gonna kill you thing. It's the we're taking away your health care. We're taking away your life. We're gonna have mass agents running around the streets causing chaos. You're gonna be scared to go outside, and they will stand 10 toes down on it every single time. And Democrats are like, gosh, I don't want to make it look like the government can't function.
Yeah.
But it can't and it shouldn't.
And
that's where we are on this, right? And the only thing that they have, if they actually go through with this like idea that's fomenting around the party, that we need to fund everything except ICE within DHS and just fund the whole government basically, is that conservatives' good conscience will weigh on them? Is that everything that's happened to Alex Preddy and Ricky Nicole Good's death will weigh on conservatives and they'll break with the party and vote with you? That's never happened.
No, it's literally never happened. They've been saying shit like, oh, the fever's going to break since Obama.
Yeah.
Because Republicans were very, very anti-Obama for a number of reasons, of course. Some very racist.
Yes.
And they've been saying like, oh yeah, the fever is going to break. They'll come back and work with us. And they don't. They never do, especially under Trump.
They get worse every time.
Yeah.
They just keep getting getting worse, and they keep like being a Nazi is just becoming more normal.
Yeah.
I feel like Nick Fuentes doesn't operate in public life like 10 years ago, but now he does.
Yeah.
Now Nick Fuentes gets to go around and sing the Kanye Hail Hitler song at the club with all the other dumbass right-wing influencers.
There's no amount of like moral arguments you can make to Republicans to get them to like change their mind. You have to force them. That's how power works.
Exactly. They're swayed by money and power, and if you make the situation so much so that they cannot sustain their power because nobody likes them anymore, then they'll have to cave on things because these people want to stay in power and want to make money.
Yeah, there's like one Republican recently who's switched up, and that's Tom Tillis, and it's just because he's retiring.
Yeah.
Like now that he's retiring, he's free to talk shit about Trump.
Yeah.
Like funny how that works, right? When you don't have any strings attached to you anymore, when you don't have any responsibilities in the future, you can do whatever you want. But every other Republican's just going to fall in line because they want to win again.
Well, every other Republican is just saying Democrats want to defund law enforcement. Democrats want to defund the police again. Abolish ICE, just defund the police. And it's like the battle about that aside, right? It's kind of like, it's kind of true because Democrats have isolated the funding to just ICE. And if you want to, if you're the media, if you're taking this from the perspective of the imaginary family that Chuck Schumer consults with in his head, the Baileys, the conservative family, they're going to think you are defunding law enforcement. If Chuck Schumer's around here talking about, or Obama's talking about law enforcement are our heroes, everyone is being like whatever about law enforcement, accepting that ICE is law enforcement in general when they're so clearly a rogue agency right now. Yeah, I guess you kind of are making the shutdown fight about ICE. Like, it should be about ICE, but shut everything fucking down. Well, don't let them isolate the issue.
Yeah, no, shut everything down for sure, but also, like, even
it should be about ICE,
It should be, but it's like, we do want to defund this agency, at least, right?
But my thing here is it's like if Democrats are so clearly worried about abolishing ICE being defund the police, they are so clearly worried about conservatives saying they're trying to stop law enforcement and make the country less safe. This makes that like more like if you're assuming the premise, like just I feel like Democrats are just shooting themselves in the foot at every single turn.
Yeah, Democrats always accept right-wing premise. So if you're going to accept that premise and say like, oh, Democrats want to defund law enforcement, say, they're killing people.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Get out and just make the argument that you want to defund this agency or you want to switch things up because again, they're not abolishing ICE, but like get out, make the argument, whatever fucking reforms you want, and say it's because, like you said, it's a rogue agency that's killing American citizens. Easiest case to make of all time, man.
I feel like they won't make it.
They won't make it.
And that's the disappointing part about all this. And they just keep giving up their leverage. Like you should always be doing the rhetoric because the rhetoric is important. It's important to lay the groundwork, to plant the seeds, yada, yada, yada. But like you don't even need to do the rhetoric as hard in the short term if you have leverage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's the easiest message ever.
Yeah.
Like this is easier than the healthcare thing, man.
Yeah.
Just get out there and make it.
It's almost like they're just taking steps. They're just kicking the can down the road and just like giving conservatives more and more and more every single time. So eventually they can just like roll over and die.
Yeah.
They can just roll over and say, oh, guys, nothing we could have done. Mm-hmm. Oh, ICE was already funded, but I know we funded every other function of the government. So we might as well just fund ICE because they're already funded. The rule of law. The rule of law, guys. What about safety and what about the border? And what about Kamala Harris would have been stronger on the border? What about that, guys?
Yeah, well, and you know where Trump posed for a picture in front of the border wall? It was the part that Obama built. So
Joe Biden built more border wall. Kamala Harris is actually going to like build more border wall or whatever the fuck she said.
God, dude, the law and order rhetoric is just so fucking stupid.
It's a cancer.
They cave to it every single time.
Exactly. Like, oh my God. Yeah. The law and order rhetoric is a cancer. You could just like do law and order and people will respond like more to just like being safe.
Yeah, well, and you're never gonna out Law and Order the Republicans because to them, Law and Order, and like to most people, Law and Order is just I'm gonna beat up people that I label as criminals.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
That's what Law and Order means, and Republicans are always going to do that better. And for Democrats or like an actual left wing party, if you can even fucking say that that's what they are at this point, the desire to fix issues related to law and order is always going to be deeper and more systemic, right? Especially when we're talking about immigration, like we're talking about comprehensive immigration reform that has nothing to do with militarized police officers or militarized immigration officers going around and brutalizing people. But you can't get to that point if you've already accepted the premise that they're like a threat to you.
Yeah.
That immigrants are a threat, or in the case of police, that like black people, usually it's the way that they're talking about it, are a threat to like your white ladies in the suburbs or whatever.
Like you just can't do it. Like you're if you try to engage with law and order on the terms that conservatives engage with it, you are never going to be able to beat them just blasting images of a white woman that was murdered last year over and 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 over over and over. It's like a hit. It's the easiest engagement on conservative media. The easiest engagement on like a conservative Twitter account is just posting right now is posting a picture of Alex Petty or Renee Nicole Good next to a picture of the Ukrainian woman that was murdered on a subway and being like, people are still talking about Alex Petty, but nobody's talking about them anymore. Actually, you guys haven't shut up about them, and that was handled.
And like it's the oldest trick in the book. They've been doing this like literally for all of U.S. history. In various propaganda pieces, and then up until this day, like painting people of color as especially predatory, especially like they're going to come and get your white women as a way to justify crackdowns from the state. Like they've been doing this forever. They did it to black folks, especially all throughout like the civil rights era. They're doing it to immigrants now. They still do it when they talk about like crime. You know what I mean? Is like a proxy for race. It's the oldest trick in the book. And if you want to get around that, if you want to win on the issue electorally, you can't accept the premise of law and order rhetoric.
Brown or black man kills white girl is like one of the oldest tricks in the book for conservatives.
Exactly.
And Democrats look at it and they say, well, how many black men are killing white girls? Maybe we should take a look at that. Maybe we should pass a crime bill. Maybe we should take a look at all this. Maybe the brown guys are killing the white girls. Like you gotta look at it and you gotta zoom out. Because you just can't contend with that. That's like the most like murder is like some of the most like visceral things that people can react to.
It's
and
reactionary politics.
Conservatives weaponize that endlessly, and Democrats just want to say, well, I'll do what they want to do, but in a more measured way. Every single time with every single issue.
It'll be less belligerent, but I'm going to do essentially the same thing, which was the Kamala Harris argument, and I think it flops.
I think it flopped.
I think it's a flop. If we're done on DHS stuff, just a couple of extras to wrap it up here. And it's crazy that this is an extra. Once again, another thing happening that should be like an administration-defining scandal.
Yeah, this would have been a hit back in Biden.
But this is nothing. Now, over the weekend, I believe, or maybe on Friday, Trump posted this AI slop video. And at the end of it was the Obamas as apes. Michelle and Barack Obama, their heads on the bodies of apes.
During Black History Month.
It's just explicit like old school racism.
Yeah, it is just old school racism. I don't know how else you describe that. This is shit that would have gone like double platinum in the 40s. It's just not acceptable. And you shouldn't be allowed to run around and do this without facing massive public backlash. And the thing that really got me about this is that conservatives are just shameless. Like conservatives, especially on Twitter, the kind that we engage with, are just the worst people on the fucking planet. And they think they can get away with whatever they want. They think they can hide behind whatever technicality that they make up. And the way that I've seen them defend this is by saying it's a tribute to like Lion King. Like other politicians were on other animals. It's like, yes, sure, but you put the black ones on the monkeys.
And there weren't any apes in the Lion King.
Yes. Yes. But like even if there were, you put the black ones make it okay. On the monkeys. You could have put them on any other ones. You had to do the most racist thing you could do. And you want to defend that? That's not like an honest mistake.
No, it's not an honest mistake. And like, so there was that. This is just a depiction of the Lion King and it's showing Trump as the lion. That's why it's okay. But then they also said they pivoted from that. I think Caroline Leavitt said, oh, well, it was a staffer that posted it. It wasn't Trump himself. Which is like, why is a staffer posting at like 11 o'clock at night on the president's account? That's crazy.
And are they going to get fired?
And then all of that was upended when Trump was like, oh yeah, I posted it. I just didn't watch to the end of the video. Which is the only explanation I actually believe.
You know what? That is kind of believable. But I also think that he probably watched it and he's like, haha. Let's post that. Crazy, fucking absolutely insane we got from the president of the United States. Like you said, that's an administration defining scandal.
It should be.
In any other president. Like, a lot of times we come back to like Watergate. Watergate's nothing right now.
No, not at all.
Watergate wouldn't have been anything.
Well, I think even like Nixon and Reagan, incredibly racist guys. I mean, the architects of the war on drugs, essentially. But I think either during Nixon, I think it was during the Nixon administration, he had called Reagan and they were joking about how like black people in Africa were monkeys that couldn't fit in their shoes.
Yes.
Like that's almost verbatim a quote from either Nixon or Reagan or one of them. They were on the phone together. They were also incredibly racist guys. And this is like that level of racism. And it just doesn't matter.
No,
like by the time you listen to this, everyone will have moved on if they haven't already.
You can because right now, like in America, you can just get away with the most bottom of the barrel bullshit. You can post race science on Maine. You can post goddamn Obama as a gorilla on Maine. as the president of the United States, you can do whatever you want, and there are just no consequences anymore.
Yeah.
It's like Republicans won the election, think they genuinely have a mandate, and think that they can just take the mask completely off.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's like, oh, wow, were you emboldened? And did you become like this? Did you transform when Trump won? Or were you just always like this? And that's why people reacted so negatively to things like cancel culture.
Right. Right. And like, I just, when people look at what Trump posted with the Obamas as like apes, I hope that disabuses them of the notion that this guy isn't racist.
Yes.
Because for so long, there's been debates around, oh, Trump isn't racist. He just, says X, Y, and Z, but that's not racist. He actually loves this group of people, loves that group of people. Man, he posted them as apes.
Yes.
Like, there's no question about it. That is just classic old school style racism. There's no getting around it. And for anybody that will still get out and defend this man as not racist, how? There's no way to explain that.
It's like a step down from posting the N-word. Like,
yeah,
you shouldn't be able to get away with that, man.
Yeah, man, it's bad. Lastly, just to wrap off the show here, Iran. It seems like Iran, at least from the reports today, is open to nuclear deal talks. But the death total is very high from their crackdown on protesters. I've seen it range from like 3,000 to 10,000 or something like that. In part because of Trump also. This is something that we didn't talk about, but after we first talked about the protests happening in Iran, when only a couple hundred people had been reported dead, Trump came out and essentially said, like, emboldened the protesters and said, I'll protect you. And I think he got a lot of people killed by doing that, because obviously, like, the U.S. is not behind you. They're just trying to foment conditions so that we can strike the country.
Literally.
That's the only thing that they're trying to accomplish here. But Iran did say they're open to nuclear deal talks. I don't know what this is going to entail, but we've said this a million times, but like, we wouldn't be in this position had Trump not backed out of the already established nuclear deal from the Obama administration.
Yeah.
The one good thing that Obama did on foreign policy, Trump backed out of, and now we're doing nuclear deal talks again. And protesters are dying maybe by the thousands inside of Iran.
Yeah, everything is crazy over there.
It's
and
bad.
We're trying to get like ballistic missiles into these nuke talks, and he's taking the maximalist position. He's like, just no, nothing at all whatsoever, and also get your ballistic missiles back. And now I'm reading headlines from Jerusalem Post that say Israel warned Trump we may act alone if Iran crosses ballistic missile red line and continues developing those. They just may strike Iran again. It's just, everything's kind of fucked.
And it's like when Israel says we'll act alone, it means we're going to act and then we expect you to come in behind us. Which is exactly what we will do.
Or AIPAC will pay trillions of dollars to get politicians that will do that in this next cycle.
I mean, everybody in the Trump administration is willing to do that. They all fuck with Israel heavy.
That's true.
Same type of guys.
They all just have Blake check to do whatever. Everything sucks.
Anyways, that brings us to the end of this episode. We hope you enjoyed, and now it's time to read our patrons.
It's time to read our patrons, our wonderful, beautiful people that keep these lights on in the studio. It helped us undergo the studio transition.
It's true.
Physically and mentally.
And in many ways, it's still transitioning. Because things are going to keep changing, and you cannot expect consistency.
You may not have noticed the change this episode, but I guarantee you something did change with the presentation of the studio this time.
And it has to.
Something's probably going to change on Thursday too, guys. I can't lie, but I got to give a special thanks to Caden Kraut, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, Mike Chaplinsky, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Caleb Joy, Rich Taro, Tari, Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Newberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Bade Brigo, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutts, Jennifer DeVoe, Crawfish and Bennington III, Alexei Benanti, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Belodi, Ted Cruz's Boy Toy, Dictator Jace, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarleson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Science, Aaron and his Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Content, Corey Chambers, Retro Mondo, Veronica, aka V, Raxon, Asmith the Growler, Murder in Trenchcoat, Kaselin Kelly, aka Gon, Iguana Don, Zach Lantian, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Isaac Hottis, Madeline C, Anna Valinik, KCC, Say Yes to Wes, August, Particular Pickman, Sir Capelhot, Jeff Sines, Brendan's Egg, Froggy Gumdrop, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Chris T, Kashan Lala, Amanda R, Tyler J, Particulon, Memfrez, Ron Stiletto, Midwest Marks, Joe the Mailman, Gare from West Michigan, Shawnee GG, Juniper Not Jupiter, Stat Crabs, I Crowley, Urban Peach, Lord of Forlorn, Holt Forsyth, Booty Snakes, Dew Fairy, Ceratops,
Austin Lima, Lane Waltz, Gorgeous Girl Mukes, Brooklyn G, Noverta Dastardly, Goldthorn, Addy Book, Merlin, Cryo Bongi, Sergeant Pookie, Hoodie, Rose Grimm, Kristen, Jamie the Young Extremist, Jack the Heathen, Archer W, Evan Mingo, AJ Torres, Elo Nico, Jake Hall, Seth Schmidt, Noah Sajas, Majawat, Ultra the Dragon, Mercy Boku, Dick Cheney and 6-Inch Heels, Luke Wechter, Henry Kraggles, Tristan Ringsmith, Yaya, Asura the Atheist, Aiden Reese, Deep State Agent, Puddle Pirate, Southern Lefty, Lark61, KC, Cannon Man, Troy H, Rourke Muffalo, Nahan San Diego, Nut Mode, Nick from New Haven, Connor Nick, Sound Logic, Sleven, I Have Never Made a Woman Orgasm, John from Houston, Jordino, Haley Weibold, Pablo Vasquez, Nurse Jen, Soul DJ, Maple Big Dog, CIA Small Creators Fun, Taylor from Burnt Down Minneapolis, Northeast Nick, Aya, Retired AF and SC, YK Coolin, Woofer G, Gayest Worm, Niles Chamberlain, Sugar Free Baja Blast, Kristen the Leftist Nurse, Fake Airplane, TJ Loves Colleen, Mothman's Gay Lover, Real Jesus Christ, Queerla, Carter Gethin, Blue Lou 92, 1000 Miniature Horses, Will Grant, Gay for Jeremy, Hail Libertas, Walter Vonder Vogelwide, Rad Dene, Captain Butt P.
I knew it was coming.
Man, we love Captain Butt P around here. Cam Toki, Chef Sam, Mexplique, Mealy Ducard, Call Me Bubba the Way I Receive Hito, Gina, a platypus named Icarus, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. If you want your name on this list, you got to become a patron.
You got to become a patron, guys. You got to become a patron. And you got to tune into the next episode.
And if you're here by now, you're the kind of person, if you're listening to this on Wednesday or on Friday, and you're all the way at the end of the episode, you're the kind of person that would probably enjoy early access.
You're the kind of person that would enjoy early access, and you're the kind of person that would enjoy your name getting read off.
And commercial-free episodes. And commercial-free early access starts at only $5 a month on Patreon.
I can feel you yearning. I know you yearn for it.
A yearner knows a yearner. You know what I mean?
I know when we're reading that name, you're thinking like, oh, mine would fit so good there. Mine would fit so good. Right? Maybe you think, mine would have fit so good after Captain Butt P. And now that opportunity's passed you by. And now you're like, I need to get in there now, so that I'm not furthering my distance away from Captain Butt P.
Yeah, you need to be with Captain Butt P.
You need to be
Captain Butt P, leader of the revolution.
Guys, the spots that surround Captain Butt P, the more people that get on, the further away you get.
Guys, you're running out of time.
You're running out of time.
You want to get in on this Captain Butt P.
Yo.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a great week.